Okay. In three, two, one, go.
Let's go. It's Metroid Prime. All right, so we're going at this again. I'm Metroid0925 or M92, if anyone doesn't know. And this is Metroid Prime. Specifically, this is Metroid Prime 21% or low percent. And it is damageless and a LOTAD. LOTAD is a low optimization tool-assisted demonstration. It's kind of like a task, but not quite as insane. You know, we just kind of go for it. It's more of a demonstration. This was more just to prove, hey, damageless is a thing. Because the only other damageless content in the Prime that I've seen is a very, very old damageless segmented by Darioshi or Dario. So a lot of what you're going to be seeing is Prime is primarily, like ZFG said earlier, is a lot of movement. So you're going to be seeing a lot of dashing and just bunny hopping and such. The dashes are pretty much just abusing the fact that Prime just has no speed cap when you're going sideways. They put a cap in place for forward and backwards, but there is no cap for sideways. So you can just launch across the map at high velocities. They actually, yeah, they did. They patched out the sideways non-speed cap in the later games to an extent.
Yeah, you can still like do some little things to like slightly increase your speed. But yeah, also Metroid Prime is a game where you're kind of expected to take a lot of damage, like all the time, like just little chip damage everywhere, and so like actually going through the whole game without taking any damage at all is pretty insane.
And I also counted, there is stuff in this game that can deal fractional damage that won't actually show up on the actual health bar. You'll get a tiny ping, but it won't actually show up. This takes no fractional damage either. One of the big ones is the final boss can actually reflect your shots back at you. And if any one of those hits you, it does like 0.1 damage, and it won't show up on the health bar. But that counts, so none of those. Not allowed any of those either. Yeah, that's true, Justin. There, I also don't, because this is low percent, we never collect the charge beam, so it's all just straight button mashing, and that causes a lot more opportunity for reflected shots. But we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here with the final boss talk. We're just now getting rid of our first boss, so we can get out of our tutorial area. And we'll actually be seeing our first little out-of-bounds section here. Metroid Prime has a pretty rigorous out-of-bounds movement system that we abuse. A lot of games you get out of bounds and you can't really do a whole lot, but in Metroid Prime, once you get out of bounds, there's a lot of options. You know, we can transition between the different rooms, we can walk along the seams, and here I'm going to pop out of bounds, and, you know, go the rest of this escape without staying in bounds. This actually made it a lot easier for damageless. The inbounds route, there are a lot of enemies, and especially the little parasites that are just really annoying to get by without taking damage. Most of the times when I go by them, I just have to shoot them because I can't like roll through them or just jump around them because they just get right in the way. So actually going out of bounds here was easier for damageless, but also faster. So it's, you know, it's a double whammy.
And also, probably cooler. I think this whole out of bounds section is really cool.
Yeah, and this is definitely, it's actually one of the harder out of bounds like runs, one of the harder wall crawls within the game, I think anyway. Yeah, and there we just drop back in bounds. The room loads around us, and we're headed out with a 534, which I was pretty happy with.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about the item loss thing?
Oh yeah, so actually when we go out of bounds there, we skip over, if anyone, if you played the game, there's a cutscene that we go through inbounds where it takes away all your items. And going out of bounds, obviously, we skip that item loss trigger. But the devs at Retro were thinking ahead of us here, and they put a secondary check when we land on the planet that actually still takes away. If they hadn't put that second takeaway check, we would have had an item loss skip, which Metroid Prime 2 actually does have an item loss skip that they use. But we were this close, but we didn't quite get it. And the first big item we're going to skip that you might have noticed is Space Jump. No Space Jump in this run. 21%, baby.
Yeah, a pretty staple trick of most Metroid Prime runs is as soon as you get off the ship, you just do a dash to the left and go grab Space Jump boots, but not in this, which is actually like probably, I assume, one of the hardest things to skip in this, Space Jump.
Oh yeah, it adds a lot of extra difficulties. It completely changes the entire gameplay feel of Prime, and it adds a lot of tricky bomb jumps to this route. It very much limits your options in a sense. Now this here is actually a really, really cool dash. That dash is stupid difficult. It took many, many hours to get that dash, and I had to have our good friend Edson13 help me out with that actually. That dash saves 2 minutes. That one dash. That saves us from the entire trek out to get the initial missile launcher pickup while fighting the Hive Mecha, and just is so much nicer.
Yeah, it's a really boring boss fight too.
It is. You're just sitting there. I mean, you can skip it by just dashing around it, but it's such a big outweigh. It's very much nicer to just boop, because you don't actually need to get the missile launcher item. The missile launcher item is just a missile pickup with a fun cutscene. Yeah, and as I was saying, we basically have to shoot all these little parasite bugs because they do tiny little amounts of damage, and there is just no way really to get past them. Yeah, and a lot of, especially early on with this, a lot of this was pretty much just actual human play. I would just kind of go in with save states, clean stuff up, and it would be a lot of just getting the single frame dashes and such, so it's nice and clean. But I mean, it's kind of fun to watch. This was one of my first real attempts at doing any kind of full game TAS or LOTAD, and seeing the kind of improvement throughout the game is really, really cool. Looking back at these early parts, I'm like, oh geez. And then I remember how the ending is, and I'm like, all right, cool, it's gonna be good. But it's definitely interesting seeing the kind of growth there. And we get to go to our fun RNG boss here. Get to go to the incinerator drone, or Zoid as we call it, named after the developer who kind of made this entire boss fight. This boss fight is just entirely RNG. Metroid Prime really has no in-game RNG manipulation, so in actual runs, it's just a lot of hope I get a good one. It's a variance of, I want to say, 25 seconds if you add up all the different phases. I could be wrong on that number, but it's been a bit. We actually do have tools, though, that can watch the memory in Dolphin, so we can watch our RNG. We have no way of knowing what actually affects it, so it's a lot of just trial and error and doing random things to try to get the RNG how we want it to be. 35 seconds of variance. I was off by 10. So I took anything within about a second of the best. So that way I didn't spend 10 years doing this fight.
He's got 35 seconds of variance. Sounds terrible.
Yeah, it is a bell curve. Like, you're gonna get most of the time, you're gonna get ones in the middle, but
Yeah, I guess.
there is always that chance that you're just gonna get the worst Zoid fight ever. I forget exactly who. I know a couple people. I think Edson and I want to say Skull64 ran the numbers on Zoid and like the full like gamut. There's like a gajillion freaking different total options of fight lengths. And generally in 21%, at least in the old route, we would do that puzzle there. In the new route, we just recently got a new route of 21% that came out right around when I was starting this LOTAD. So I did not want to learn a whole new route to do this. There is a new route. The new route actually does the Ice Beam before Flogra wall crawl back there and skips that that puzzle that I just skipped. But I decided, you know what, let's just skip it here and we'll go out of bounds and do a little puzzle skip. Just for the fun of it. Totally didn't just forget that I was supposed to do the puzzle and ran right by it.
Nice.
And then remembered as I got back there. There are a couple instances like that in this LOTAD where I just kind of spaced on something and then had to make some stuff up on the fly later on. Because there's really no good way to go back in Dolphin tassing. It's not like a lot of other tasses on like the older consoles. It's very much you could go back to like an NES task and inputs part way through it or change stuff, and the rest won't get all messed up to some extent. Dolphin, it's very, very tight. It's very obnoxious. You really can't go backwards without having to redo everything. Also, we're at the cutscene boss. Flogra is notoriously a kind of dull boss fight. You basically just go in, bomb these. In the standard run, we dash or jump over, and you can actually bomb these slots from outside of them. But that's a little tricky damageless. I managed to get one of them because I had to, but getting all four was not exactly feasible because the vine will try to smack you from in there and then you fall in the poison water. It's a good time. Yeah, just about anything can cause desyncs in Dolphin. Dolphin is just not a very optimal tassing tool. I mean, it works for what it needs to do, and every version of it has different issues. And to answer the question, a desync is just when the input map that I've created or that someone has created no longer aligns with the actual gameplay happening. Usually just like a lag frame or something, or a frame that did lag when the inputs were being made, then doesn't lag. It's just inconsistencies in the way the game is rendered. Metroid Prime is a notoriously hard game to emulate as is, so I know I've heard that the Dolphin team actually uses Metroid Prime as like a benchmark for Dolphin to like see if anything will like make it work better. It's kind of cool. And so this last bomb slot here, I do dash over, and you'll see I started falling towards the lava, but I didn't quite touch it. But I actually, during the cutscene, fall into that, I call it lava, didn't I? I fell into the hot water. And the cutscene teleports me out of it, which gives me a state called pre-floaty. Pre-floaty is basically just a kind of state. It doesn't do much anything, but it allows us to get proper floaty jump, which we'll be getting by going out of bounds here after we collect our various suit. We'll be hanging out in this various suit for a pretty long time. We do not collect the gravity suit at any point in this run. Actually, I think the only categories that do are 100% and max NSJ. So here we'll be seeing one of our first really kind of high tier bomb jumps. This is called a UBJ or an Uber bomb jump. Great naming.
Love those early 2000s names.
Yeah, you know, we got the Uber bomb jump, the horizontal bomb jump that doesn't go horizontal. It's great. It's basically just a bomb jump that abuses the refill timer. Now, if you'll notice there, I walked into that water and out of the water while out of bounds. And you'll notice I kind of jump a little weird now. This is Floaty Jump. Floaty Jump is busted. It's very fun. It's very fun. And it's completely, like, not intended, but it is just in-game. It's not like a... we're not using any cheat codes here, I want to be clear. I didn't plug my Game Genie in to do this. This was completely developer intended.
This is just like getting partial underwater effects, but not all of it, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, the only reason I had to do that was to do early wild here, which normally you do by doing an infinite bomb jump. But to do the infinite bomb jump, you have to drop down and land on an enemy, which last time I checked, landing on an enemy does do damage, so.
Yeah, and this fight only triggers once you go down that big room a few rooms ago. Like, once you pass down, like, halfway, it triggers being able to get to this fight. But you're supposed to get the spider ball to come back here, but then doing that whole thing.
And super missiles you're supposed to have. There is actually a trick to do it without super missiles. It's a really, really bad bomb jump you can do from on the spider track. I don't know if... It's not used in a run now. I don't know if it ever actually was. And yes, optimal mashing on these ghosts. These ghosts are just a big RNG fest of where they show up. They try to show up outside of your vision, so that way they can shoot you from behind. So trying to manipulate them to be in decent places is really annoying, to also be shooting them near constantly. While also doing optimal, mashing, and it's a good time. You could shoot every 6 frames. I don't think people can do that very well. Every 6 frames easy in OT.
Yeah.
Yeah, the running gag that Aether jumps out of bounds are an OOT 1-frame trick.
Yeah, I always hear that. It's a 3-frame trick, so it's a 1-frame OOT trick.
Exactly, that's how it works. So now we're going to the fun zone of Magmore. Lots of lava, unneeded little BSJs just to look scary.
Yeah, I was gonna say that first one, like right before he fell into the lava, was pretty neat.
just to keep everyone on their toes.
Just to add some
I actually
excitement.
I actually had to hold on that cutscene there a little longer because right as you unpause it, the Magmor is still moving during the cutscene and will still hit you with his little freaking mouth fire. A BSJ, sorry, is a bomb space jump. It's basically within a very small window of leaving a ledge, you can unmorph and jump, and you'll actually be able to jump from the unmorph.
Yeah, so it kind of lets you jump in the air a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Here we're gonna play with these turrets for a little bit. These guys are pretty good shots, but I managed to skirt around them a little bit.
Yeah, the moving through this room looks insane.
Oh, I forgot the energy tank. No, we don't get any energy tanks here. Yeah, Phendrana Drift's probably the second best music in the game, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And we actually watch that cutscene because it replaces us. It's in-game time shenanigans. It actually saves time to watch that cutscene for in-game time. Because in the Prime community, we use in-game time, which is only measures the time that you're actually in control of Samus. And if a cutscene replaces you, it's worth watching. So we're really only here to go grab Wave Beam. We're just hopping in, gonna grab Wave Beam, dip on out of Phendrana, and go on our merry way. We gotta fight our big Sheegoth friend over here. Yeah, sadly I could not do infinite speed here. Infinite speed, you take damage. I was thinking about doing it, but sadly. It also is kind of slow, and you just sit there for 50 seconds spinning up.
Yeah, do you want to talk about what that is?
So, basically the way that infinite speed works is we manipulate a room so we go out of bounds. You put a room in basically it trick the room into thinking it's in the wrong room. The map thinks you're in the different room. It makes the rooms other than that kind of sticky. It's weird. It's really weird. And we can morph and just spin forever. And you keep spinning and gaining speed over time. It takes about 50 seconds, and you enter a state called infinite speed, where like the shell of the morph ball pops off, and the game just gets real funky. And then once you're in that, if you boost, you like touch the collision of everything. It's it has to do with like floating point math and stuff like that. Samus goes real fast and touches everything. It's kind of funky. And then you can't unmorph afterwards without fixing the camera, because it like bugs it out and you just see nothing or a whole lot of fun tessellations that we call light show. Let me hit it now. 20% run was never completed. It is, I'm pretty sure, confirmed for tasks. It's 100% not human viable. But 20% is tasks approved by skipping various suit and just doing a bunch of shenanigans.
What? Oh yeah, skipping various suit.
Yeah, they skip various suit. There's ideas about possibly at some point skipping the wave beam, but at the moment it is not possible, and we'd need to find a new way to get out of bounds in a couple rooms. Yeah, so 21% is the lowest as far as we know for Damageless right now. Oh, that room was fun. That room took a while to do, and we have to go through it 3 freaking times. The new route 21% never touches Root Cave, which is the big tall room we were just in. Yeah, dodging all the zoomers was very fun. One of my big things with this was I wanted to kill as few enemies as I could, just because I thought it was more fun.
Yeah, I do
Try
like
to dodge a bunch.
Yeah, I've noticed like some of the dodges in this are really cool, and because like sometimes no damage stuff, like when it takes the time to like kill every little thing to make sure you absolutely can't take damage, it's like it's still pretty interesting, but not going out of your way to kill them and just avoiding damage I think is cooler.
Like it definitely made it a lot harder for me not killing things,
but that makes it more interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun to watch, I feel like.
Yeah, and it's faster.
True, it is fast. Yeah, there were a couple instances where it was slower. But yeah, a lot of it was a lot faster. And yes, this is pre-recorded. Well, the video itself is pre-recorded. I'm not pre-recorded, to be clear.
Unless you're watching this on
CFG
YouTube.
is. Oh.
For any future watchers.
Sorry, I don't want to make them feel left out.
No, it's okay. Make them feel left out.
You should have been there live. Be there. Be square. Twitch.tv/ZFG1. Also, if you notice the little pause I do there, that's basically just to cause this room to load just a little bit faster. That water fountain room, for some reason, waits to load all. Oh, look out for that spankweed.
That was so
it waits
close.
for all. It waits for all of the rooms to be loaded before it opens any of the doors. So pausing lets it load the rooms just a little bit. It keeps loading while you're paused. And so now we're coming to fruition of skipping that puzzle. So we're going to go out here. And this is another one of our cool boy bomb jumps. This is an HBJ. As you can see, it's very horizontal. And we get out of bounds here and do some fun out here. This wall crawl is... The full wall crawl is Ice Beam before Flagra or IBBF. But we're just doing a portion of it. And this is just the puzzle skip here. So all we're doing is skipping the puzzle in this room right here that opens the door that we're about to go behind. And there we go. And you can just walk up this if you didn't know. It's at like 89 degrees. It's not perfectly vertical, so you can just walk right up it if you're looking at the right angle.
I always wondered why you could walk up that. I didn't know it was 89 degrees.
They just a little bit messed up.
It's actually one of the things I love about speedrunning this game, just like how much collision you can like walk on in, like sometimes intentional, sometimes unintentional, but just like being able to use the environment to walk on weird stuff to your advantage is really interesting.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty much the entirety of out of bounds movement is walking on like seam collisions and the edges of like polygons. And so right here we're gonna get this bomb slot right before this ghost fight. You still have to fight him, but it's a little quicker to get it at the start while the ghost is still spawning in. Jesus, it's 94? Damn. And with just one ghost, it's pretty easy to mow him down with optimal mashing. I spent a lot of time. I did a bunch of research on optimal mash timing and like DPS per shot. Oh, excuse me. It's a human can mash like that, but you need 2 fingers. And I tried real hard to make something work. It just wasn't happening though. It's like 520 BPM or something like that, if you do the math. Oh yeah, we should try spoon strats. I didn't even think of that. CFG, you gotta give me a spoon strats tutorial.
I'm sure that'll work out.
See, now I almost want to try.
Okay,
I know what I'm doing after
the
stream.
secret is spoon strats is only good for mashing 2 buttons, not 1.
Ah, dang.
Unless you want to like somehow mash missile and beam at the same time, which I don't think is ever useful.
No, it's not. Oh, I see. You're like, you put it... okay.
Yeah.
I didn't fully understand the spoon strats. You went between 2 buttons.
Yeah, you're like rubbing it between 2 buttons. Or 3.
Yeah.
Super mashing.
It's an alternative method to rapid firing missiles. Oh, crap.
I guess, but I feel like just holding C-stick up is probably much easier.
Yeah. It's actually a little circumstantial. Sometimes it's hard to get a finger over there to hold C-stick up. and it's easier if you just kind of roll your thumb from Y to A. It's not quite as quick of a rapid fire, but it's still pretty quick.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that's how I figured that out when I was like a kid, and I didn't even know about the C-stick up until I started speedrunning the game.
Yeah, same.
Main core is a fun room here. This bomb jump, I had to do like this to dodge that one shot.
Yeah, that looked really cool.
Yeah, most of mines is very hectic and very sketchy. It's a lot of troopers that do a lot of damage. It's hard even in casual play. I know I had a hard time with this when I was younger playing mines. Boop. Yeah, don't worry about those guys. Just swing right by them. I'm just hanging out with these guys. You can shoot a crate in the back of the room to make them not spawn, but where's the fun in that? So now we get to play with the big boy. This guy is pretty tough. He takes like 12 ice beam shots, but that's pretty slow, so I think we're just going to skip him. Yeah, that sounds better. That dash is actually stupid annoying. There's an invisible wall right at the edge of that platform that you have to like shimmy your way around. It is like the only thing making that trick like kind of dumb for RTA play. And low percent's favorite room, vent shaft. We'll be back here later, don't worry. It's got the best bomb jump in the whole game. And now, this guy here is quite invisible, this little mini-boss here. It helps a lot if you have X-ray, but I think I got pretty lucky with where I was aiming, and he didn't take too long to take down. And we also don't exactly have to do this puzzle.
Nice.
You can just drop in just enough, drop a bomb, and then you basically drop down low enough, it hits the trigger to start the puzzle and like lock everything up, and then you just bounce out. And to make it so you can see, instead of like turning that big thing transparent or something, they just delete the actor when the maze starts.
Amazing.
So the actor's gone and you can just jump in. That is actually semi-RTA viable. It's kind of, it feels almost like RNG, but you can go for it. I know a good few people do, and I do as well when I do runs. At least once, just to try it.
Nice. Yeah, it seems like it's at least worth going for. There's no reason not to go for it.
Yeah, that's it. It's viable, just not consistent. That's the word.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, Big Boy's back. Nobody say anything about the fact that I completely forgot I didn't have to kill this guy until well after I killed this guy. He unlocks the doors, but I just kind of go out of bounds here. So the reason we're going out of bounds here...
Nice.
The reason we're going out of bounds here is Vent Shaft, the room that we went through earlier that I mentioned that has the coolest bomb jump in the world, is full of toxic gas right now that hurts a lot. It doesn't hurt that bad. You have plenty of time to get to where you need to go to turn the gas off, but to get there, you kind of have to go through the gas a little bit. That obviously does not bode well for me not taking damage. So what we do is we have to go out of bounds, and go around it. And I got really scared I was going to have to do a lot of nonsense through mines here. But then I was kindly reminded that because we have to come back down through this ceiling here is scan through. So you can just scan it from out of bounds and turn off the gas. I don't know why. It's only like one big triangle over there that's scanned through, but it works really, really well.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I just hit a trigger there to load the room up down here, and then I dropped down and transitioned back in bounds here. So we're headed over to the Edson special here. We had a little competition to run this room the fastest. Edson 13's won, so that's what made it into the LOTAD. I got the second run of PPC. We come through this room again later in the game, but this is a good Edson 13 cameo here.
Oh my god.
Our resident 100% tasser. Alright. Edson's cameo's over. Clap, clap. We're back to me. We have another special guest appearance coming up soon here. I had a good few helpers.
Oh man.
Like I said, this was my first time LOTADing, so I did have a lot of help in just learning how to use a lot of the tools and stuff from the Prime tasking community in general. It was a lot of Edson 13 and Hazel Fusion Varia helping me out, learning all like the tools and stuff and how to use it, which was a lot of fun. We actually have a little fun cameo from Fusion Varia Hazel, the resident any percent task maker, in this room right here. So this is Geocore. Geocore is a hard room to get up normally. And trying to do it without space jump or boost ball is a little interesting. I don't fully understand how this trick up here works, but you morph right next to the edge and it lets you up. That's about the extent of my knowledge.
Cool.
And then we do a spinner manip so we can spin this. It takes a while. There's no way to speed this up. Sadly. But this is all to get up to the top of this and to get Plasma Beam. In the normal run, we would go out of bounds a few rooms ago by bomb jumping on top of one of the flying pirates. But sadly, bomb jumping on a flying pirate takes a bit of damage. So I was not allowed to do it. So we had to do this room. That spot is pretty precise. It's mostly RNG, it feels like. It's stupid precise. And
Yeah,
that's
that whole
Plasma
room was
Beam.
insane.
Yeah, huge shout outs to Hazel, Fusion Varia. She cranked that room out in a weekend, and I knew that I would not be able to do that room with my skill set, or it would have taken me like 2 weeks or more. Just insanity. And the other option would have been a much slower option of going back to the first room in Magmore to do a secret world there, and then wall crawling all the way from the first room all the way back to there. So it would have been an extra like probably 3 or 4 minutes. So we're thankful for that one. Excuse me. Hazel is on Twitch, twitch.tv/FusionVaria. Oh god, I can't type. Dope. So now we get to go through Root Cave round 2 of 3, because we just love this room so much. And it's a little faster this time. I did a little better this time. I think this was my best time through. The third time is right at the end of the run, and I was a little tired, but. That dash was way harder than it looked. There is a zoomer directly in the path of that dash, and I had to bend so hard. Yeah. For the terminology of that, bending is the word bending in this context is when you dash, you can, to a pretty good extent, adjust and alter your direction of travel by pushing forward or backwards on the stick at different angles. Watch out for this missile. That's a run killer right there. And I mean that literally. I have lost 21% runs to that missile. And it's like an hour into the run.
It sounds like the dumbest mistake to make. Like the most annoying mistake.
You can play it safe too and like jump around it. You can unmorph there, but like it's so slow to like unmorph, jump, and then remorph. It's
yeah.
Yo, waste. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a run killer because it's low percent, which means you're trying to avoid every item possible. So even accidentally getting a missile means it's not low percent anymore.
Yeah, we are only allowed the 5 missiles we get at the beginning. Anything that is not strictly required to beat this game. I mean, I suppose I could finish it and call it any percent, but... I really wanted to do BSJs there, but it just ended up being slower to do that and then have to remorph. It was very sad. But we get to see this cool BSJ again. This BSJ is actually surprisingly tight. I always have a hard time with it in RTA play. So we do not do exo skipping. Well, we do it in low percent normally. We can't do it damageless, but in 21% exo skip is done. It's considerably harder, just because the previous room is one of the tougher rooms in the whole game to do, regardless. And then you have like 10 tries to get the Metroid to knock you out of bounds. Whereas any percent has upwards of like 30 or 40, just because of how much damage the boy does. Now, normally we would go out of bounds in the room over from here and wall crawl over to the X-ray room, but we do this very, very tight bomb jump that I think only a couple people have ever done RTA, and they've done it with pause buffering, which pause buffering in Metroid Prime to actually do tricks. Crazy. Also, that bomb jump is the most proud thing in this entire run of mine. I love that bomb jump. It's my baby. It's so sick. So we grab X-ray, and while we're here, because we are not out of bounds, we can't just grab this. We have to do the Spinner Manip. This Spinner Manip is black magic. I have no idea exactly how it works. I looked into it and I couldn't figure it out. But you go into the spinner at just the right way, and it lets you spin without boost ball. I don't know. If somebody knows, I'd love to know.
That's still an unknown thing. I remember I did 22% like way back in the day, and I was like, I was so confused on how that works, and the fact that it's still unknown, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like a combination of positioning, speed, and the way the water works. I really tried. This bomb jump is also ridiculously difficult. You're balancing on a branch and then having to UBJ up to another branch because we have to get out of bounds because otherwise we'd have to fight the ghosts, which is very slow because the ghosts unlock the door to get out of here. Wait, you ran 22%?
I didn't run it. I completed it. I have completed the game with 22% once. I didn't run it.
You should run it.
I don't know. I want to like that. I want to at some point. I do want to do 21%. Just complete it once at some point.
It's really fun. The new route I think is a bit more nice. It's still hard, like it's not easy, but the new route doesn't have like the half pipe bomb jumps that the old route does. But yeah, we got our X-ray and we're schmoving. We're headed back. We're going down to Phazon Mines once again. We're gonna do probably the biggest run killer of 21% runs in terms of death. Oh, don't worry, Remy. We'll get some vent shaft. We're coming up on the Wave Pirates fight, which is basically we get locked in a room. Hold on, let's look at this room first.
Nice.
So we go into this room, and there's going to be 3 Wave Pirates that we have to fight. Not these guys. These guys are, these guys are mincemeat. Wave Pirates and generally the power troopers that are related to Samus's beams are just some of the trickier enemies. They shoot a lot, they move a lot, they take a lot of hits, and there's a couple spots in this room where beams can actually reflect off of walls and still damage you. So this fight is not easy in any setting. That's Wave Pirates. And sadly, there's no way around blowing up this guy, but optimal plasma beam shots is always nice. Fire once every third of a second or 20 frames. It's good stuff. The hard part actually in RTA of firing plasma optimally is not rushing it. You can actually overmash with plasma beam and you'll miss shots in the middle. And that little dash was just to get a little closer to the door. And going back to this room, there's a bunch of troopers. We don't actually have to kill these troopers, but we do have to kind of dodge them all, which is also a fun time. They're just everywhere. Oh, Jesus.
So this room's just cool every time you go through it.
Kinda, yeah. There's just a lot of enemies. I got distracted there for a second. Forgot it was Damageless and was like, oh no, am I gonna take damage? And so now we're kind of going through just retreading some of the old lands. It's a lot of the same type of movement. But we're heading towards the lower mines, which the lower mines are just even more insane. Just more enemies, a lot more Metroids. So many Metroids. Metroids home in on you. It's a great time. We get to say hello to this nice man again. Again, we will not be staying long or playing with him, but... And here we are back at Vent Shaft. This is why we had to scan, because we have to go back through this room. And for the fans...
Oh man.
I felt like I had to get that in there.
Just for fun.
It wouldn't feel right if I didn't do it. It's like my favorite trick in the game.
That's your favorite?
It's one of them. It's a cool bomb jump.
It is.
I love it. And these guys over here, they can just hang out. The 3 ice pirates here. I actually need those power bomb. And this room took a while.
I'd love to know how close you are to getting hit on like all of those kinds of rooms.
Very.
Yeah.
Like it'd be a matter of like I would be holding right, and if I hold left 1 frame earlier, I wouldn't get hit, and if I hold left 1 frame later, I would get hit, kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
It was very tight. Samus's hitbox is pretty large. It is a big old rectangle. And so here, we're going to be riding a Metroid. This actually doesn't take damage, thankfully. If you freeze him and stand on him just right, you can ride up him. Yeah, Metroid Cowboy Time is very fun. That is actually used in the proper route. But we kill all the other ones, so we only have 1 left usually. So in this room, you'd see a lot in any percent or 100% people going out of bounds here. To do a trick called Early Newborn. There's an artifact up here that takes the plasma suit to get, or the plasma phazon suit to get. And normally you'd get it from out of bounds. That takes damage. Okay, cool. We could go inbounds and, not get the early one. That's fun, but you have to take damage to go through that room. So we had to do this secret world here. Which involves UBJing onto a moving glider and then doing this secret world. And we don't even get to do early newborn because it takes damage. We just have to go out of bounds here to crawl around this room right here. This room is full of Phazon and is, as far as I can tell, impossible to get through without taking damage. And I tried. It's a lot of exciting darkness here as I'm looking away. So I'm going to turn back around, you know. This really, it's there's not a lot that you can do with stuff like this, especially with NSJ and these huge rooms like this. So a lot of really is just walking around.
This room looks really cool from that far out of bounds.
And a lot of these mines rooms are really, really funky in terms of their collision. Like it's like supposed to look all rocky and stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes it really annoying. I get this transition here is actually really cool though, I think. With the BSJ dash. Now this guy actually, you'll see him hop to the right twice here. I had to manip him to do that so I could get this dash at the right angle. Otherwise you can't actually get that dash. And I needed 3 power bombs right here. So there's 1, 2, and there's 3. Thanks, RNG manipulation. And this guy helped me out a bit. So we're coming up here on Omega Pirate, who's the next boss. He's the big boy in there. Generally speaking, you shoot off his plates here, and then he'll go invisible. You use your X-ray visor, see him, shoot him a bunch. He regrows his things. You rinse, you repeat. What we do is we one phase him, or one round him, so he never will actually gain his shields again. We do this basically by abusing the fact that he's vulnerable to power beams, or power bombs, so long as you have the X-ray visor open. So you basically will just lay a power bomb and then turn on the X-ray visor and you'll take the damage. This first one's a little weird. That's just to interrupt his animation so he doesn't summon a bunch of extra pirates to bother us, which is why we're just kind of hanging out here. But we're going to roll up to him, lay a power bomb, open that X-ray visor, and we'll kill him with 3 power bombs. Getting as close as that to that Phazon as we can. Those big blue piles there hurt quite a bit. And I'm not allowed to get hurt, so. And I'm also using some manipulation with him. He tries to spawn at the pool furthest from you, but not the one that he was in last. So by moving in specific ways, we can get him to spawn where we want. And there's your OP. That's pretty much the exact strat that's used in RTA play. The pirate might have perched in the air. No, this isn't damage. No, that doesn't count. The thing still said 99, so it's good. And yes, we get the Phazon suit. It shows as gravity suit just due to how the game's counter works. It basically just says suit up 1, as far as I understand it.
It also works weird percentage-wise, right? Like it doesn't add a percent like it should or something.
So the way that they did the percentage in this, the Phazon suit doesn't actually count as a percentage, because at the end of the game, in the final cutscene, it takes away the Phazon suit, and it actually takes it out of your inventory fully. It's not just the aesthetic or anything like that in a cutscene. So they had to do that to make it so that your percentage still shows as 100 if you get all the items.
Okay, yeah, because I always wondered why Like it goes from 98 to 100.
Yeah,
But-
so if you save at the ship before the end of the game, it'll show as 98, and then you go get the artifact of truth, and it'll be 100.
Okay, that actually makes sense why then. I always thought if it was just like a bug or something, but I guess that actually makes sense why.
Yeah, it's like a weird workaround because of the fact that the cutscene is completely in-engine, so taking it away in a cutscene takes it away from you actually. And I believe we have a bit more Metroid Cowboy time. Yep. And I just hold those guys back behind the other frozen Metroids. It's like a little fence, you know? Yeehaw. But wait, there's more. Dial now and we'll give you another Metroid Cowboy time. So free of that, we're heading our way out of the mines. We're going to work our way up. We're actually going to spit back out into the very bottom of PPC, which is the Phase-On Processing Center, and have to climb that entire room. I had to kill one plasma trooper because he just would not leave me alone. But I only had to kill one. I'll let the record state. I didn't want to kill him, but he left me no choice. I know, I'm a murderer now. This is an invisible platform I'm standing on here. I actually saved a bit of time because I was able to use the drop from that guy, which was nice.
Oh man, this again?
Yeah, this again. All these little hops backwards are just so that way I don't actually get shot. And there's actually more pirates this time. I know I made them look like they have bad aim, but I swear those pirates have pretty good aim. I swear. Okay. That little zoomer is a guaranteed powerbomb drop, which I do need. Whoop. So coming up here is actually a really good demonstration of something in this game called a ledge clip ghetto or ledge clip slope jump, where basically you do a regular slope jump, which is if you jump against a sloped surface, it just gives you extra upward momentum. And then you get a ledge clip, which is where it clips you. You can get extra speed, or like puts you there and you jump on the first frame, you get extra speed, and it just allows you to get crazy vertical speed and launch up. That little backwards jump I did generally would need a UBJ and then a jump. V speed. And so Farfen doesn't have a crazy amount of like big damage risks per se. This Metroid in this room is pretty annoying, and I had to freeze him. A lot of Farfendrana here is just a very technical movement. It's probably, at least in the older route, one of the hardest sections of the game. It has a lot of really tricky stuff. This room I'm going to up here, Fendrana's Edge, has an in-game required 1-frame dash. It's 1 frame at 60 FPS. It's stupid. That dash right there has to be a 1-frame B press, or you will not make it. It's probably like the hardest room RTA in this run. This dash here is also a 1-frame dash, but we have a setup for it with pause buffering and such. So it's not as bad, but it's still a 1-frame dash. Yeah, it is 1 frame. That second dash is. I mean, if you want to fact check me, Edson, go for it. I'd love to be proven wrong. Actually, it would be kind of cool. Make my life easier. The current world record holder claims that last dash is easy, but I don't believe him. Current world record holder 21%. I want to be clear here. And so we get to go to the back end of the labs here, the pirate labs. Normally you'd come through from the front, but we're going to come in through the back. You can wave hello to the thermal visor. It looks real pretty in that glass case. I don't want to ruin their little display, so I think we're going to leave it right there. We don't really need the thermal visor anyway, you know? It's not all that useful.
Who needs to see?
Yeah, you know. It only, you know, helps you see the final boss during one of its phases, and otherwise it's invisible, you know. Nothing crazy. Here's our introduction to the titular character of this game, the Metroid. This is supposed to be the first time you see a Metroid. I think we've seen a few of them so far, but it's still a nice intro to him, right? And we just wave goodbye anyway.
Seems very menacing after all the Metroids you've seen already.
And ridden. And we're literally just here to grab this one artifact in this room. That's the only reason we came this little detour into the labs. In total, the LOTAD's like an hour 45. Metroid is a girl also, by the way.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, I know, spoilers, but Metroid is a girl. And we get one more wave at thermal visor through here, so Say hello, thermal visor, and goodbye, thermal visor. Yo, I don't like that jump. That's a hard jump. Took me way too long to get that little jump.
Yeah, that seems like
it requires like
through the whole run. It's just lots of hard jumps.
It is. You're so limited with without space jump that like even a little jump like that requires you to get as much vertical velocity out of a slope jump as you can. And if you'll notice, we are going down to Magmor again. Those in the know might know of a trick called Thardus Hop. Thardus Hop involves basically standing on top of a boss called Thardus and getting a damage boost and jumping past his fight trigger to start, which is a really good trick. It saves around 2 minutes, I think I timed it as. And it is actually RTA viable. There are a couple setups for it. It's consistent. You can use it in runs. There are setups. It's cool. But we're not too sure if there's a way to do it damageless. There's a couple theories on possible ways to do it, but none of it really seemed quite feasible, especially in the time frame that I was doing this LOTAD. And I didn't want to spend, a month researching. And it only allows us 2 minutes, so I think going through Magmor again, doing these really cool dashes and such was more entertaining anyway. Make friends with Thardus, no damage, if only. And this whole detour is to get one of the final artifacts that is in the front end of Phendrana. It is the artifact that you would have gotten with infinite speed at the same time as the wave beam, but we have no way of doing that here. We also have a boost ball.
It just means you get to see that cool room again.
Exactly. Oh yeah, in response to chat, yeah. Metroid lore goes deep. It's really cool. There's like a whole manga and everything. So this is our 10th artifact, if my math is correct. Yeah, because we have 2 more. We have the artifact of strength and the artifact of truth. Yeah. Math.
Someone
math
asked what percent we're at right now. Do you know?
I think technically it would be 19. Yeah, 19 because we have.
You're done with all
2
the
more
items,
items to
right?
get.
Just the artifacts.
Yeah, we're not getting any more items. We're just getting 2 more artifacts. We have 1 to get right when we go back to Magmor, And then the last artifact is at the temple where we fight Ridley and go to the final bosses and such.
Yeah, so approaching
We're
the end
basically
here.
on our way to the end. Yeah, sorry, Ridley didn't get teased earlier in the game because we went out of bounds. There's a nice tease for Ridley. We saw him flying towards the planet, but we didn't get his cool intro cutscene. So one of the falters of going out of bounds in the frigate at the beginning.
Alright, so now it's just making your way to the artifact temple?
Yep, pretty much. We're going to go back through those rooms, through Fiery Shores again, go up through Root Cave again, round 3 at Root Cave, our favorite room, and make our way to the final bosses. Oh, this room's so cool. There we go, our last save of the game. Fill up on our power bombs and such. Head in towards our final boss rush. And for those keeping track at home, we've gotten our artifacts. We're about to get our last artifact. All we got was Morph Ball, bombs, our 4 beams, X-ray, Varia, Phazon suit, and 1 missile pickup. That's all we need.
What, no drawing on the wall with power bomb? Or power beam?
I gotta give the tease, you know. I
was
couldn't
so
think of anything good
excited
to
when I saw
write.
you aim towards the wall. What's he gonna write? Oh, nothing.
So this is Ridley. Ridley is the fire plasma beam every third of a second boss. Generally speaking, in any percent or 100%, where you have charge beam, once Ridley lands, you can actually damage Ridley with boost ball. It does like a freaking few million damage per frame that it touches Ridley. And Ridley's air phase is vulnerable to it. But we don't have boost ball, so gotta shoot a bunch. And don't mind Ridley clipping through the floor. It's perfectly natural, I swear. And in TAS, actually, they have a crazy way. They can actually do some ridiculous jumping. There's a video of it somewhere on YouTube. They literally can jump up and dash over to Ridley while Ridley is still up in the air and boost onto Ridley. It is ridiculous to see.
Yeah, that sounds insane.
Yeah, it's super TAS only and also requires space jump and boost ball. But most of this fight, the beginning half of this fight is a lot of just waiting for Ridley to do the stuff that Ridley's going to do and then shoot Ridley a bunch and then wait some more. Not having charge beam really kind of puts a damper on it. And it's about the same RTA as well. I think there's some theories about possibly doing, it's called flyby skip. You can shoot Ridley during a specific part of the animation. I want to say it's a 1 or 2 frame trick, and it causes Ridley to immediately drop to the ground. But it also requires charge beam. There's a theory that you might be able to do it with missiles, but I don't think it's been proven yet. But we're almost done with the air phase. The ground phase is a lot more interesting. The ground phase is pretty RNG heavy. Ridley can do a lot of random stuff, different attacks and animations once grounded. And there we go. So we've burned off his wings, so he can't fly away anymore. The missile snipe. So basically, anytime Ridley does the rear back attack like they did at the beginning, that's pretty suboptimal. I think I only got Ridley to dash once, and it was only because I wanted to reposition. If I remember correctly. Sadly, Ridley does take 6 phases of shots to kill, and we only have 5 missiles. So we do have to pop him once with plasma shots. But that's still a solid Ridley fight.
Yeah, especially not for taking damage. It seems like it's so easy to take damage in that fight.
The surprisingly the most dangerous thing is when he's flying by his like mouth laser. It moves so unpredictably that it can just tag you, and it does a crazy amount of damage too. It can drop half your health like that. But now we get to go to the impact crater, the final area where we get to go fight the final boss. This next room actually proved to be pretty tricky. These little dudes, real annoying. Now this room, Phase Encore, it's a tough room. It's a lot of really precise bomb jumps. There's Metroids everywhere, as you can see here.
That was close.
Yeah, I was, I believe about 2 frames away from taking damage from that Metroid. And this third bomb jump is probably the hardest bomb jump in the game. Or at least double bomb jump. It's just stupid. This was the one room we actually had to prove out to be viable for Damageless. The entire floor in that room is red Phazon, which damages you even with Phazon suit. And you're literally walking on the edges of spider tracks. It's technically possible RTA, but I would not wish it on my worst enemy. And now, Metroid Prime is just a big meanie who has a bajillion different attacks. This is basically just optimal firing pattern, the boss. If you'll notice, any shot that hits on his carapace bounces back. If any of those hit me, they do about 0.1 damage, which is not allowed, clearly. So it's just a lot of dodging the attacks from him and firing optimally. Later on, there is some RNG manipulation to try to get the best pattern for the beams. That's it, boss done. Not quite. Not quite. Those little shots were actually for RNG manipulation, if anyone was curious.
How hard is it to avoid damage when Metroid Prime does that dash attack while you cross the room?
It's actually, if you stand in the right spots, it's not too bad. The hard part is when Metroid Prime like flicks you around, because it like pushes you. It has like a weird gravity trigger that pushes you around. That can like push you into the back legs and such. I mean, if you want to be safe, you can just stand in the actual ruts, like the little ruts in the middle. You just won't take damage on either of the side ruts. But I'm standing in that spot specifically so that I can get a snipe on him, on the boss there. There's like a small frame or a chunk of time there when it's dashing towards you where you can actually get a shot in and do like one more shot of damage. It matters a lot more in any percent in hundo if you're fighting the boss, because you get a whole charge shot in there and it can cut like a segment in half. Or like a phase in half. I'm only getting a single shot in here, but you'll see me aiming and pecking at it there to get 1 damage, basically, to get 1 shot off at it before it changes. And getting those 4 shots of plasma in is on the damage stack for this wave beam, so I have to use less wave beam shots.
Oh yeah, that's important for like the order of the phases, right?
Yeah, so the order of the phases, you want to have like basically a high damage, then a low damage, then a high damage beam. So that way you can cut into the low damage beam's phase. The ice beam snipes. And so for the last, for the first 3 subchambers here, Prime basically goes through, alright, the first one is Power Wave, the next one's Power Wave Ice, the third one it adds in Plasma, and it's kind of random which order they go in. The fourth subchamber is just a complete hayfire. Prime can change itself whenever it wants, it can dash at you whenever it wants, it can go fast like this. So it's a lot of combination of RNG and AI manip type stuff to get it to always be Plasma, because Plasma does the most damage. So you'll see me doing a few weird things here to get it to switch immediately back to Plasma, basically. Always want Plasma Beam. And ideally we want those fast switches. And like I said, similar to the Zoid fight with RNG like that, it's a lot of trial and error because we have no real... There's no good way to track the RNG in this game. It's a very... As far as I know, it's just a floating point value. And doing the research on that would probably take months of somebody who's really good at computers. But that's EXO. EXO falls down, and we go into our final boss. The Metroid Prime Essence.
Just letting the music play.
Of course, you gotta let the music play. If you skip it too early, the music doesn't play.
And then you have a strangely anticlimactic boss fight.
It really is. Prime Essence is, for lack of a better term, not a very good boss. It's just a lot of waiting. Thankfully, once you get past the first set of waiting, we don't really have to wait anymore. We basically... By timing the shots out like this, it allows us to use more damage from the pool using the Phazon beam. And what it's also doing is you'll occasionally see Essence start an animation, and it interrupts the animations and basically gets it to go through its cycle faster. I'm still hitting it right now, I promise. You're supposed to have thermal visor here. If I had thermal, you'd be able to see Essence right there. But just trust me, I'm shooting it. You can watch the health go down. Yeah, and it basically just cycles through the different visors. And in 21%, because you don't have charge beam, you can't just hold it down, so you actually have to mash. This is mashing every other frame when I'm doing that. So it almost looks like charge beam. And that's time.
That's it.
So that's the entirety of Metroid Prime 21% or low percent without taking a single piece of damage.
Nice. Yeah, that was a really cool run.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Like I said, that was basically my first time doing any kind of full game LOTAD of anything. I'd done like single room stuff, but having the inspiration to go out and crank out something like this, it took about 3 months or so, I think, to make this. 3 or 4 months of like working on it basically almost every day after work. Just get home and do this. I did have a lot of help, like I said, from generally the Prime community and especially the Prime tasking community, just with, you know, providing, like, getting me the tools that I needed, get everything to work properly. There are a lot of really, really cool tools for Prime specifically. We have, like, a memory watch that we can use to look at stuff. We have a fully live updated collision viewer that shows exactly where Samus is and stuff like that. It's pretty well flushed out.
Nice. Yeah, I was actually
despite the limitations.
I was gonna ask if you guys had like some kind of collision viewer or something that's cool.
Yeah, it's not like the most insane. It's pretty good. The only thing that it doesn't show is like the actors, but all the collision and such are fully able to be seen, and it's super helpful to be able to see like that and your exact positioning and such. You know, being able to see your exact velocities, it's very helpful. Super great. And those were made by, I think Footage made most of those. Poutage. I think of anyone else. Who else made them? I think it was just Footage who made most of them. I think Whiskers, Mr. Whiskers, made the one of the memory viewers. So shout out those people for their awesome work at making stuff. Trying to think, what else is there? If you want more Prime content, there's plenty of it out there. We have a good few people actively running this game right now, running various different categories. Couple people I know running any percent. There's I think Edson is working on 100% when he has the time. Myself and I know Justin DM are working and running 21% actively, working on segmented runs to prepare for some big boy single segment runs with good times. There's a lot of good, cool stuff happening in Prime right now. It's very exciting. Thanks for watching, I guess. Let's wait and watch that sweet
Yeah, we can
end timer.
Yeah, we can wait throughout the credits. Can't skip Metroid Prime credits.
Yeah, fixed credits, but not. For reference, for the time coming up, the single segment record for Prime 21% RTA is 1 hour and 43 minutes. The segmented world record, which is just somebody going from save point to save point, it's an older style thing that Metroid Prime runners still do, myself included. The segmented world record for 21% is currently 1 hour and 18 minutes.
Wow, that much.
So keep those in mind.
Segmented and segment. Yeah, that's
21% is very trick heavy.
Yeah, it seems really brutal. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing where like my current 21% personal best, that room that I talked about that had that stupid like slope jump that I didn't like in Fendrana, I lost like 10 minutes in that room in my last personal best. Stuff like that, like a single trick can hang you up for double-digit minutes in a run like this.
Yeah, it just seems super brutal.
It's a very punishing category. It's really fun to play through casually, like just try to beat 21%. It's a fun challenge, but trying to actually speedrun it it's a lot of practice and just spending stupid amounts of time practicing tricks. But it's very fun. So there's your 21%.
117, oh man.
It was let me get the exact time, because Prime tracks it down to the millisecond. They just don't show you it because they don't let you know. Where'd my timer? It was a 1:17:59.567.
Barely.
Just barely. I'm happy with that though. Thanks a lot, CFG, for letting me showcase this here. I really appreciate that.
No problem. Yeah, I love showing stuff like this. This was really cool to show. Enjoyed watching it. I think everyone in chat enjoyed watching it. Do you guys like it, chat? Alright, yeah. So yeah, thanks for doing this. This was very cool.